Password?
maxdean.org.
Hey, buddy,
Oh, why thank you.
Buy the cheap shit again. It tastes like this.
Hey, man, you can't drink water.
Look at these two fucking ass clowns walking in like they own the place.
Doing a show here.
Goddamn millennials. Welcome to the Yancey Street Speakeasy, episode number 10, Phase II Boogaloo.
Hell yeah, here we go.
Alright, I'm Max.
And I'm Tracey. Are you trying to introduce me? Are you trying to steal my steal my thunder? And it's like, listen, I know your name comes first. I know your name's on the website and everything. But that makes me no less a partner in this. I will introduce my own name.
We'll see about that.
I'm Tracey. I am Tracey Scott Penelope LaFrance. I don't thank you to respect me.
What if I just introduce you first before my name? And then I don't even give you the chance.
The rest of our intros are going to be a nightmare. It's just us racing to introduce each other first. Like, hey, Tracey's Max.
Yes. We're trying to be more professional. Backfired already. So good.
We just had a discussion right before this. And he's like, all right, so let's make the introductions a little more formal. Let's try to keep this on track. Let's be a little less silly. Less jokes about butts and sweat.
I didn't say that.
Sweatiness.
I didn't say anything about butt jokes.
I said it because I got very self-conscious listening to our previous episodes about it was a little too much grossness, but you know what? Like, comment, and subscribe if you like the grossness. All right, let's bring it on. It's Phase II, the Electric Boogaloo.
Before we dive in, we're going to do a couple of different things today. We have some websites which we promised a ways back, but now they're really here. So if you have anything to say to us, positive or negative. You put negative feedback in the title so that I can put it in the dumpster, and if it's positive, then don't, and we'll read it.
We have a negative feedback receptacle. It's called the garbage can.
Yes, exactly. So please go ahead and email us at maxwelldean@maxdean.org. Yes, you did hear that correctly.
It is maxdean.org.
So original.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Before I knew him, he had the idea of the podcast before he met me. It was going to be about something lame like football, but no, just kidding.
Well, I was toying with ideas, but anyway. So please do email us just to talk about the podcast, talk about what you want to hear, if anything, what you don't want to hear, and if you would like to say something, if you'd like us to read it on the podcast, let us know, and there's a good chance we'll do it. Yeah. Considering the things that we actually say on this podcast, there's a pretty good chance that what you say will definitely make it on.
Yeah, we would love more fan interaction. You guys are awesome. We've been keeping track of our downloads, and it made us feel all. I got a bunch of butterflies in my tummy.
Yeah.
Seeing how many downloads we got, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Thank you so much to everybody that listens.
Yeah, so we really do appreciate it a lot. I know we've been making a lot of jokes about it, but we do really appreciate it.
I feel like I tell our audience to fuck off at least once per episode. It's to try to make us not sound desperate. Speaking of sounding desperate, here's another shameless plug. I just created an Instagram that's gonna be following our creative efforts and artistic efforts. I'm gonna be posting original art on there, stuff relating to our comic, relating to commissions I've been working on. I've been designing tattoos, book covers for people. I really love drawing superheroes, so I will randomly just draw superheroes and post them on there. It's Viva La France, VIVALA, and then the country. Except Viva La France, but I wasn't able to be the first one to get that one. So the E at the end of France is actually a 3.
Oh, okay, good.
So Viva La Franc 3.
Viva La Franc.
Follow my Insta, babies. All right.
Okay, so now that we've plugged ourselves. Struggling not to make some jokes that we just promised we wouldn't. But now we're gonna do the Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in our lead up to the Infinity War. So we are gonna try and get succinctly through Iron Man 3?
Captain America Winter Soldier.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Thor 2 The Dark World. Don't hit me.
Then Winter Soldier. Then we're going to do Guardians. And then we're going to do Ultron. And then Ant-Man.
And then, yeah. So Ant-Man was post Guardians.
It was after Age of Ultron.
It was post Age of Ultron,
but still part of Phase 2. It was. I think that originally they wanted it to come out first, like ideally, but that film ended up having a lot of sort of internal issues. They lost a director, and I think so originally it was supposed to be Edgar Wright, and then it ended up being.
So this is six films. We struggled so much to get through 4.
Yeah, but I think that we're on our game today.
All right, so let's freaking get right into it and
let's dilly dally some more.
No, I like that phrase, dilly dally.
It's a great phrase.
Dilly dilly. So, Iron Man 3.
All right, so the intro to Iron Man 3 was pretty good, only made better by the fact that you find out he's talking to Bruce Banner throughout the whole thing. I thought that was great.
Wait, what?
You don't remember that?
No.
So you know how the intro... we just watched it.
I know.
The intro to Iron Man 3, he starts telling the story. He's like monologuing over a black screen. Which then leads directly into the 1990s, or the turn of this century.
Okay.
Remember, I'm blue, da blue.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So, but when he's monologuing...
listen up. Sorry.
At the end, it turns out he was talking to Bruce Banner, who fell asleep. Remember?
What?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, were you actively napping? He's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not that kind of doctor, man. I just don't have the temperament for it.
Oh my god, that's right.
You totally forgot about that, didn't you?
I totally phased that out of my brain.
Yeah. So the intro is great, only made better by the reveal that he's talking to Bruce Banner.
Yeah. That was really... and, but you pointed out that Jon Favreau he's trying to do the Pulp Fiction.
Oh, so good.
The Pulp Fiction hairstyle. He's as invasive as ever, like tackling Tony. We get introduced to Extremis, the sort of the Extremis project. He's talking to what was the woman's name who was working on the cellular regeneration.
Ooh, I should know that. My first instinct is Mary, but I want to say that's not
Mary.
Right. But, so we get the intro to Aldrich Killian when he's got the long hair, bad teeth, and hunch, which I thought that was a bit cliched. I thought they could have made him like a geeky character without going so extreme.
He was, yeah, I know. He was, the problem with Killian, he's so much more interesting in that opening scene than he is for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, I like the movie. Yeah. But once again, it was one of those.
Be careful. This one's a very divisive one.
It is.
Careful.
Because they again suffered from the lack of powerful villain. Powerful in terms of striking and memorable.
Yeah, the Mandarin. The introduction of the Mandarin.
I know. I was like, yes.
One of
so good.
100% one of the highlights of the movie.
And honestly, the twist was great as well. It would have worked so much better if they turned to someone who was more interesting than mustache twirling Aldrich Killian.
Because that's
okay, so we've all been embarrassed by peers at some point in our life, right? Especially us nerdy guys, and so. Oh. especially those of us who may have felt a little bit meek at times in our life. So it's not really something that the average person or any person would become a supervillain over. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like it's such a reach for him to go he left me on the building. What a meanie! I'm gonna dedicate my life to ruining humanity because of it. It's a little extra, dude. Well, any sane person would be like, wow, Tony Stark's a raging asshole. He made me feel really bad. You know? Like, that's pretty much the extent of it, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see how it might drive someone to be successful eventually, but yeah, it just didn't work for me in terms of that. Plus,
no.
Like, I like Guy Pearce, but they just made him so smarmy.
He's just like dripping with like just overconfidence and just schmoozy like nastiness and like superiority and
God, and I feel bad. I wish that I knew what his little sidekick's name was.
The other extremist people.
Yeah, the guy who pretty much all the villains in the movie were like very caricature-y, and I feel like they really tried to. I'm not really sure why Shane Black decided he wanted to make a pseudo kids movie.
Yeah,
but he did because the villains are caricatures. The only good one was Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery.
Who's that?
That's who the Mandarin. That's the Mandarin character.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Ben Kingsley's the actor, and Trevor Slattery is the character's name.
Yeah. Once after the movie was really good until that reveal.
Well, I thought it was hit or miss. I mean, I didn't love
the kid.
The kid.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. It's right.
Harley Keener.
You kind of hit the nail on the head right there with making it kind of. He made a kids movie.
I'm for suspension of disbelief and stuff, but when he's in Tennessee and he's battling the girl, she's totally ridiculous. She's got the whole like cartoony vicious faces and the
playing with her food, and she like there are so many moments where she like could have and should have killed him, but she finally. Like, she had a bunch of, like vicious attacks, and then when she finally was like, I have the killing blow, it's like, I'm gonna taunt you a little bit. Yeah,
and then what's his name? The guy is always chewing the gum, like, it's so exaggerated. It's just, it's just like...
Please never make that face again.
But it's just... I didn't like any of the villains besides Trevor Slattery. And I even liked the twist with that, but everyone else sucked.
If the movie had followed... Like, it started so strong. Like, if the movie had just kept on, like, with that theme, like, if the rest of the movie had been, like... Because, man, that video with the Mandarin set it up so well. Yeah. I was so hooked. I was... Like, you'll never see me coming.
Yeah, it was great. I was
like, whoa, that's freaking cool. I was.
We were all ready for the next best villain since Joker, you know? Like, so...
He could have been. Like,
yeah, he really could have been.
He was already... I was already putting him up there.
I mean, hell, if they had... The twist was fun. I don't dislike it, but it probably would have been way cooler if Ben Kingsley played the real Mandarin.
You just have to back it up with something as good, if not better, than his what he was pretending to be.
Yeah.
I could have seen that. Yeah, I mean that. I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not trying to say that I hated the twist. I just. There are ways that could have gone so much better. If just keeping with the Mandarin as the main bad guy theme, that could have been amazing. That could have been like a really intense, like foreign/domestic terrorism sort of storyline. Or, it's just.
But the movie is again completely carried by Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, great as ever. The writing for him was still very good, probably partly because he's responsible.
I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if to give credit to him for, ad-libbing stuff, which I'm sure he did, as he always does. I'm not. But the writing was good for him, too. The writing was good for Trevor Slattery, too. It's just the characters that they wrote for the real villains were just so weak. And the other thing that made it feel kind of like a kid's movie was that some of the action was very cool, but a lot of it was very slapstick.
Yeah, very over the top. I know
the armor, even when the armor would like break off and fall all over, it sounded like tin cans. Well, it's like a cartoon.
That's the thing is, I mean, okay, so the house party was obviously the finale there, where he gets spoilers. He gets his entire his entire armory of I guess like. Well, he was Mark 42 is the one that flies on and immediately.
Yeah, so I think that there were
41 other suits.
No, because Mark 1 was the one that he built in...
so 40.
No. Mark 1... Mark 1 was the one that he built in the cave in Afghanistan. Mark 2 ended up being the War Machine armor.
Oh.
That was the first one he built that was still silver.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know, like, there was let's just say close to 40 suits flying around in that finale.
Gotcha.
But I just, like, that was a little bit Michael Bay-ish too.
A little, yeah, very much so.
You know, I feel like they just wanted to be like, look what we can do with CGI these days. It's like, for me, personally, I got so much enjoyment out of him just being in a suit of armor, where the mask flipped up, you saw his face for a little bit, flipped back down, and then everything was, like, the Iron Man 1 and 2 were so good for that reason, because they felt kind of grounded. Yeah. And I know they want to show that he's improving the technology. I just felt like instead of making it a point to show that their real goal was to just be too overly flashy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they had keyed it back a little bit with him, I was down with the Mark 42 armor. I thought it was really cool. I liked how they did that. But if they just keyed it back, not having him do the backflip to catch the mask, not having it.
He gets hit in the crotch with the crotch plate, like just silly stuff.
Yeah, it's like, Mark, come on, you guys are better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd expect that from like Michael Bay or something like that, and I wouldn't expect that from, just the. I don't know, and also so on top of that, the armor has become, the Iron Man suit is such an icon. And it's in the previous movies it seemed so much tougher, and in this movie, especially with the house party protocol, they were just being destroyed. They felt easily. They felt like Tin Man armor. Like,
that is one of the things that they haven't done a super great job of with the Iron Man character over the entire cinematic universe. Is sometimes it feels like his armor is indestructible and very powerful. Sometimes it feels like it's very destructible, and there's no real gauge for that. It's one of the rules that they really don't follow.
Yeah.
But anyway, so essentially it's not really that high on my list of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but it's still very fun because of Ben Kingsley's performance, and most importantly because Robert Downey Jr. carries it like a champ.
Robert Downey Jr. is the quintessential, like, Marvel star child, and he's just great at everything he does.
They've done enough. They did enough well in the movie that it's still fun, but it just inevitably it's compared to all the best Marvel movies, and it just doesn't sit up there with that.
Yep.
All right, so let's jump ahead to Thor: The Dark World.
Yes,
a lot of people's least favorite of the bunch. I
will let you do a lot of the talking with this one, because this is the one that I have watched and remember the least. All I know that this one is... Oh, wait, so what did Iron Man 3 bring to the MCU?
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
So, honestly, not much.
the Mark 42 armor that's more mobile and accessible. Like, he doesn't
will fly to him from other parts of the country.
It doesn't have to be like a giant. It doesn't have to be a giant like case flying to him. It doesn't have to be the fancy suitcase that he puts on in the middle of the Grand Prix. It's not like the one that like locks onto his wrist bracelet as he's diving out of Avengers Tower.
Yeah, so
it comes to him piece by piece, and so he can. And each one seems to have its own internal power source that he can. So it gives him a lot more variety and a lot more mobility when he's fighting, which I think is cool.
But that's pretty much it. They did include Bruce Banner, which was I really did like that. I thought it was funny. I thought it was like cool that it was connected.
Giving Pepper extremis powers, which she didn't keep.
Yeah, could have been cool. Yeah, just not my favorite. But
I just wanted to see more of her kicking ass.
Yeah, but it's also not really her character to do that. I mean, I'm not saying that like a female character needs to be secondary or not physically powerful, but her character specifically, that's just not really her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they gave her a moment where she kind of saves him at the end.
Yeah.
But just, I don't know. Let's just move on
Yeah, let's
beyond
move
that.
on.
But to the greater MCU, it didn't bring the story. I mean, it did set the stage for Tony Stark being kind of
like less mentally sound.
Yeah, and stressing out about the wormhole and everything that happened, the alien invasion. So it did that, which
anxiety,
was good.
Yeah, his anxiety and PTSD, which actually did play a lot into Ultron because
Yes.
those fears, those anxieties get played upon by Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, so there was that, and updated armor, and the inclusion of Bruce Banner. But beyond that, I would say that it was a pretty self-contained film.
Yeah.
So, Thor: The Dark World. We did rewatch all of these movies in preparation for Infinity War, although Tracey did miss out on Thor: The Dark World just due to time constraints. I did watch it again.
Yeah.
And so, this one, understandably, is one of the least favorites of a lot of people. It's definitely very low on my list.
Yeah.
But it's
significant.
It's significant because it does introduce one of the Infinity Stones, although you wouldn't really know that except that they just tell you at the end.
But like in that one, I remember the Reality Stone does warp reality somewhat, but it acts a lot more like the Space Stone because it creates wormholes to like.
No, it doesn't create wormholes. The wormholes were happening independently.
Oh.
The wormholes were what was going to allow Malekith and the Dark Elves to turn the universe dark, because despite the fact that it's a Infinity Stone and it is powerful, it's not powerful enough to turn the whole universe, or the 9 realms specifically.
Gotcha.
It was not powerful enough to turn the entire 9 realms dark unless it had that connectivity, which was basically the stars aligning, so to speak. I mean, the whole plot device was just not that great. The villain was really, really weak.
He was. I remember him being just kind of like the not on a worldwide scale, but on like a universal scale, like a megalomaniac, just wanting to change everything, like make everything in his own image and stuff like that.
Yeah. So again, this movie, it's still fun to watch, but that again, it's really completely saved by Thor and Loki and the interactions between the two.
Yeah.
The Warriors 3, again, really boring. Jane Foster, really boring.
I don't think she
thought
was
that
not a great choice.
I mean, but here's the thing. Natalie Portman wanted out after Thor.
Oh.
And she was contractually obligated to come back for Thor 2.
And then she left for everything else.
Yeah, and I think that she probably was contractually obligated to do more after that, but they were like, we don't want to make her do this because it's not worth it, you know? Yeah. I don't know for sure. All I know is that for sure she was contractually obligated to come back for the Dark World, and she didn't want to do it.
She's great, and I know she's a great person. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of her acting style.
It suits certain movies, it suits certain roles, just like any other actor. But the point is that she's not really a comedic character, and the Thor movies, no matter what, have always been best when they've been comedic.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite moments of Thor 1 were comedic moments.
Yeah, well, their Marvel films are classically like they're well known for making fun of themselves, and particularly with like the more out there characters like the like Thor and Asgard and the characters with weirder powers like Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, and the Guardians and everything like that. And that was definitely a strength, being like, okay, we realize this is weird, but just like hold on, because like this could be fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they are, is fun.
And she was very like,
she tried, but they just didn't write her that well. And instead of developing the Malekith character, they gave her a whole bunch of scenes where, like, they gave her a fairly long scene where she's on an awkward date. It's like, why does that need to be in the movie? It is a little bit funny at times, but not that funny, and it's not worth having it in place of developing the villain.
Yeah, maybe that was on the writers. I'm being too harsh on her as an individual.
I think so. I mean,
I think you're being a dick too.
I got your back, Natalie.
Got you, big. Or our first Yancey Street guest is gonna be Natalie Portman. She's gonna be in on Thursday.
So we got to make sure that she feels very welcome.
Yeah, I've got her. She actually, since she's an avid fan. Ever since I mentioned my Instagram, I've been keeping it up. She messaged me on Instagram, and so it's gonna happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Got them connections, babe.
So the basic plot is that there's a intro scene very similar to Thor, the first one, where instead of Odin, it's Bor, who's Odin's father, defeats the Dark Elves led by Malekith, who's their king. They are trying to use the Aether to bring darkness upon the world at the last conjunction of wormholes.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget what the exact term they use is. Really doesn't matter.
If I remember correct, doesn't the Aether invade Natalie Portman's body?
It does, and again, that seemed like a little bit too coincidental for me.
Well, especially looking into Guardians and like any other incidents of mortals trying to hold an Infinity Stone, like she definitely like was in danger.
Yeah, well, her body was like definitely breaking apart essentially.
Yeah, but like you look at anybody else trying. They were done in a matter of seconds.
Here's the thing. What I will say to defend that is that mortals are able to wield Infinity Stones if they're contained in other objects. So, for instance, like a mortal could wield the Ether for at least a little bit of time because it's in the form of the Ether. It's not the pure Infinity Stone.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So, and I think that's kind of. I mean, I don't know if they had thought it out that much, but it still works if you think about it.
Is it like do they crush up the Reality Stone, and that was what the Ether was?
I honestly am not sure exactly.
Yeah,
how
that's
it was
right.
made.
You got the Tesseract.
It was enchanted in some way, shape, or form. The same is true for Doctor Strange and the Time Stone.
Yeah, Space Stone.
He's not able to. Even though he's very powerful, he's not. He can't just wield the Time Stone. It has to be in the Eye of Agamotto.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. But
gotcha.
Basically, it was just too coincidental that she, of all the people in the universe, stumbled across the Ether, hidden away for millennia.
Yep.
So
it was Jane Foster.
Yeah, so I thought that was too coincidental. But again, the movie is carried by Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of Thor and Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki. Very, very fun as ever. Very charismatic. The humor was the best parts. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love the little cameo of Chris Evans when Loki transforms into Chris Evans transforms into Captain America because he's trying to give Thor a hard time, make fun of him.
I completely forgot.
I can feel the patriotism welling inside me.
I completely forgot about that.
So, basically, long story short, it's just kind of a fun movie if you really don't think about the plot very much. Yeah. The action's not terrible, but the character development just isn't there.
Yeah.
So
come for the brother relationship, stay for the Aether, and then don't come back again because. Yeah. That I honestly is one of the few movies in the MCU that I am sort of reluctant to watch again.
I wouldn't be reluctant to watch it. It's like of all the things to do with my time, it's just not high up there. Yeah. I probably wouldn't watch it unless next year we're doing another rewatch leading up to Infinity in the Avengers 4. So.
Sure, everyone will love that.
Yeah. But we're not going to spend too much time on the Dark World just because there's really not too much to say about it. I think.
What did it bring to the MCU?
It brought the
Reality Stone.
Yeah, the third Infinity Stone, which was the Reality Stone. So at this point, there are 3 Infinity Stones, but this is the very first time the Infinity Stone is said on screen in the MCU.
That is true.
Previous to
so what were the... So it was the space... Oh, I guess the Mind Stone's in Loki's scepter, but
Yes.
that's never really delved into, like, the only hint of that is his ability to, like, mind control people.
Yes, exactly. So, I don't know if... I think that basically when the Tesseract is introduced in Captain America, the First Avenger, it's supposed to be the cosmic cube.
Right.
From the comics. But they call it the Tesseract because, for whatever reason, basically I guess they thought it would go over easier with audiences. And then when Joss Whedon was writing the I'm not sure if he wrote it. I think he definitely had a hand in writing it. But when he was developing Avengers, it was his idea to make Thanos the big bad over the course of a long period of time. So that was his influence, and he wanted the Tesseract to be the Space Stone, and so that's why he also introduced the Scepter as the Mind Stone.
Gotcha.
So he
well, that was like they were probably even thinking of that before. I mean, was Captain America in production post the production of the Avengers? Because they had Red Skull getting whisked away into the
well, I don't know exactly. I wasn't obviously involved, so I couldn't tell you how specific it was. But what I can tell you is the basic rate that it takes to produce a movie. Marvel's got it down to a science. Previous to this, it did take a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
Let me say that again in a more clear way. Previous to Marvel being able to pump out movies at this rate, it takes a bit longer to, especially for a big budget movie, to write the script, find a director, fine-tune the script, find the actors, shoot the movie, post-production the movie, do all the CGI, etc., etc. So what I can tell you is before the Avengers script and post-Avengers plot was properly developed, they definitely were already working on Captain America.
Okay.
And the Red Skull is one of those characters who they kind of sort of base him on Hitler a little bit in the sense that they like to make him hunt for archaeological objects with magical significance.
Yeah.
So I think that they had introduced the idea of him wanting the Tesseract or the Cosmic Cube before probably Joss Whedon had this post-Avengers idea of Thanos collecting the Infinity Stones.
Right.
So my guess is that they probably did work together on that during the production of Captain America, but I think that probably the basic plot and some of the MacGuffins, specifically the Tesseract, were probably already introduced, but that's really mostly speculation. But so moving on. Oh, they did introduce the Collector.
Yes, they
which
did.
was cool because by then they knew they were going to do a Guardians movie. They knew they were going to go cosmic. They knew they were going to introduce more aliens from.
As we continue to like look into these, I just get more and more impressed that they had
foresight.
They had the foresight to do all this. Like whoa.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So let's move on from Thor: The Dark World and go to many people's all-time favorite MCU movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Hell yeah. Love this movie.
Yeah. We watched this together. I've seen it many times. I do adore this movie.
We were holding each other tenderly while we watched this one. It was a very cathartic, just intimate moment between the two of us. Cause just exclamations of joy and sorrow and just exploring each other's body. I'm sorry. I'm just
we need to get away from this. This is very...
getting so many exasperated looks from. I'm sorry. I just it's what makes me giggle. Anyway, it's Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, it just has so much going for it. It is It is a true is like this awesome espionage film. It's the introduction of so many key elements that are going to like play such a major role. This one introduced a lot to the MCU. It introduced the mass production of the Shield helicarriers and that sort of increase of intelligence, like them wanting to expand their intelligence department, have an eye in the sky, have the means to destroy anything at a moment's notice. It made Nick Fury, up to this point, Nick Fury had been kind of like the guy in the chair, the guy that knows everything, the guy that sees everything. This movie sort of was the first moment where we were like, he might not have everything under control. Like, Nick Fury might not like have like the best idea.
Well, you know what it did was basically it for a big budget blockbuster film under the Disney logo, it really it bucked a lot of expectations in the sense that it basically said Big Brother is watching and they're not always right about everything, which has always been a big thing in the comics. And I really loved this movie thematically. I loved the writing in this movie. The action in this movie is the best in the entire MCU.
Oh my god! Everything from the opening scene, from him, them raiding that one vessel, vessel, and taking everybody out.
And so it's got a great intro where Steve Rogers is running around the reflecting pool.
Yep.
And with and the intro of Sam Wilson.
Sam Wilson, yep.
So good. So good. Like it develops that friendship really
Mackie. Well. And just more Black Widow. Please, forever more Black Widow.
It really, this was the biggest character developing movie of Black Widow of them all.
Yeah.
I really liked what they did with her. They didn't make her feel like a sidekick character. No. They made her feel...
She was competent. She was in control. She was interesting. She was, she had like a, you could see like the way that the action around her influenced her decision making, and she's always operated as her own independent entity. When it comes down to it, she has a certain loyalty to the government, to Shield, to Nick Fury. But
she has a loyalty to very few people. I wouldn't say the government is one of them.
Well,
I would say that she is loyal to Nick Fury, and now I would say she is loyal to the Avengers, but that's pretty much it.
But she'll still, if she sees bullshit afoot, she knows, like, she has a pretty strong moral compass, and she will follow her. She'll follow her heart. And
but I think that her inclusion in this movie was not a sidekick role.
No.
Falcon is a sidekick role.
Yeah.
Black Widow, very much on par with Captain America.
No, I mean, if the movie had been like, if the movie could have been Black Widow and Captain America, and I would have viewed it just the same, because like
they didn't. If they could have called it, they could have called this movie Captain America: Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They could have
or something, or
Black Widow, the Winter Soldier, or something like that. Like they could have easily been the same movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well done. The hand-to-hand combat was excellent. They didn't over CGI. They relied a lot on practical effects.
Which I love. Is lots of callbacks, but all in the right ways. Introduction of Bucky Barnes coming back,
which could have been so cheesy if they didn't do it right.
Yeah, but he was mysterious. He was menacing, sinister.
I have that. Powerful. I have his theme sound playing in my head right now.
Yeah,
like the screeching. Like I don't know how to even describe it.
Yeah, just like
know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like the really
semi-horror screech.
Yeah, the kind of dissonant, intense, like high pitched noises. Mm-hmm. For every single moment from every single moment he showed up in that movie, you like your breath caught in your chest a little bit, because you're like, this dude knows what he's doing. This dude means business. People are gonna die when this dude's on screen. He is powerful. He is effective. Everything from his first appearance when Fury gets attacked in his tank sedan or whatever that is.
Yeah, that was great too. That was one of the best. the best.
It's one of the best like car chase scenes
in years. It's so good.
I will always remember that. It did involve one of the only sort of cheesy elements of the movie that I will completely forgive because the rest of the movie is so stellar, is him drilling through the earth to escape.
Yeah.
And it's like, first, if you had that kind of ability, why didn't you do that ages ago? Second of all, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially, it's a laser that lets him flee into the sewers, but there, you know, excuse me, pardon me, you know, he's wounded, possibly shot. I can't remember if he's shot, but he definitely at least has a broken arm, and you know, if he fled into the sewers, the Winter Soldier is only a few feet away. Like, he could jump in after him and easily chase him down, but he's like, oh, I lost him.
Yeah, that was like one of the things. It's like, Winter Soldier's like, I think Winter Soldier had other reaction as the rest of the audience, like, huh? And he's like, you know, I'm just going to call this a day. This is beyond me.
Well, the first time I saw it, I was like, that was so cool. But, like, upon rewatch, I would say that is one of the minor flaws.
Yeah. But, yeah, him showing, like, you see, like, an entire tactical unit of Hydra agents disguised as police officer and SWAT members, and they couldn't take Nick Fury down. The Winter Soldier shows up on screen for 2 seconds, and he's just like, yeah, I got this little thing, bang, you done.
And the movie just, it's just such a well-made movie from start to finish. Like, the foreshadowing, they do so well. They foreshadow that scene that I love when Captain America is taking on all of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in the elevator.
Oh my god, that is one of the greatest fight scenes.
It's so good.
Ever.
And they foreshadow it earlier in the movie when Nick Fury's in the elevator. And Nick Fury does this whole spiel about how his granddad used to be an elevator operator. Like, the Russo brothers did an amazing job with this movie. They like, that is what great movies do. They create, like, feelings of intensity and feelings of heart in locations where an important thing is going to happen later. I can't say enough good about this.
This is the stuff that I know you're not as much of a DC fan. This is what the DC movies are so desperately lacking. Like, they feel, at the end of the day, they feel hollow.
They are hollow.
They're very hollow. Like, there's no thematics. It's very lacking in thematics. It's lacking in heart. Wonder Woman managed to pack a lot of heart into that movie. Gal Gadot's performance, all the improv, all the humor, and stuff like that. If they were to follow in their footsteps, they could do something great. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Marvel Universe. Hydra infiltrates S.H.I.E.L.D. and they've been there. They've been there for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. Trying to create the world in their image. Like, it's sort of the. Did you ever watch The Minority Report?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of that, like, kind of thing with computers. With the algorithm.
Preemptively.
Yeah, like seeing who. There's actually an anime that you might like as well. It's very Minority Report-esque, called Psychopaths, and that's another one where it's like people are looking for. They have guns that can measure a person's crime coefficient, like how likely they are to commit a crime, and if it gets above a certain level. So that's like basically this. They're looking for people's crime coefficients, and also probably using them to wipe personal, like, enemies of Hydra off the map as well, and just create the world in their image. And they're going to use S.H.I.E.L.D. technology to do it. I think all of this coalesces into. Like, Cap internalizes all this. He sees this, and this is why his stance in Civil War is the safest hands are still our own. This is why he opposes having people in higher power dictate where they need to go. Because what if they send them a place they don't need to be? What if they tell them because government's full of people with agendas? And this is shown in no place is this shown more clearly than in this movie when freaking Hydra takes over S.H.I.E.L.D.
It does a lot to set up Steve Rogers' character moving forward. basically, in the first Avenger, you get Steve Rogers in the 40s. Yeah. In the Avengers, you get Steve Rogers just entering the 21st century. Yeah. And in this movie, you're like, what, we saw him just enter it, and then he was acting in a crisis. Yeah. But now we see, what is it really like to be a person with old-fashioned ideals living in modern society?
Yeah, he's finding the world smaller. It's getting harder and harder to be a cowboy, kind of like be like.
It's smaller and larger at the same time. Yeah. It's like you can't roll with those simple ideals. There's a great line where he says, "Why do I get the feeling that you're happier now than you were before?" And he says, "I guess I just like to know who I'm fighting." You know what I mean? Which is a feeling that I think a lot of people have. Even if you're not actually a warrior, even if you're not actually fighting, a lot of people, I think, have this idea that they don't really know who is their friend, who is their enemy, who, in the great scheme of the world, like, a lot of countries or groups, organizations are portrayed as our enemy, but we, as the average citizen, don't really know,
Yeah.
We just have to sort of take what we're told and question it as best we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and for sure, Captain America, Steve is in that same position as the civilians. He's definitely not told everything. Like, he's not. This is the age where intelligence has become the weapon.
Yeah,
of
and
choice.
He's very much against that.
He's intentionally kept in the dark. You see that from the get-go. Like, he walks in on Black Widow stealing data, and he's like, "Was this whole sting operation just so you can get some files off this thing?" Mm-hmm. And then he talks to Nick Fury, and he says, and Nick Fury is like, he's like, "Why was I kept in the dark about this?" And Nick Fury's like, "The way that this organization operates, no one person knows every piece of information, and it's safer that way." And Steve goes, "Except for you." But then we find out almost immediately after, even Nick Fury does. And Nick Fury is not infallible. Mm-hmm. He's kept in the dark from his partner. And that's where Hydra and the Winter Soldier step in.
Yeah, thematically, this movie is just extremely relevant.
There's so much happening in it.
To current affairs, current politics. So
we could do an entire podcast on just that movie.
Definitely could.
So
and
much
you know what? Maybe someday in the future, we will.
Yeah,
we
please.
can really delve into it, just because it's a movie we both love so much.
Now that we have more platforms for folks to interact with us, please let us know.
If you'd like to hear a more in-depth delve into the Winter Soldier,
because I'd love to talk more about it. We're obviously both super passionate about it, and I think we could talk for ages about it. But I just want to get back to Bucky himself. Just what an interesting, complex, tragic character he is. How terrifying and intense they made him in this movie. Like, he was always behind a mask, hidden in shadow. He was such a terrifying figure that who's the dude that was partners with Fury that like betrayed him?
I'm not sure which one.
The dude that's like the high up.
Oh, the guy that Robert Redford plays.
What's his?
Alexander Pierce.
Yes, yeah, Pierce. Pierce killing his maid just for looking at Winter Soldier, because like that's what a deep cover agent he is. This is the dude he was molded through years of brainwashing and training and super soldier serums and stuff like that. This guy is designed to effectively and efficiently take out all enemies, disrupt entire governments, take down countries in the matter of days. And you feel that. And it all culminates in that moment where he catches Cap's shield.
Yeah. Yep.
It's so fucking cool.
Yes. It's well done.
Yeah.
So, just because of how much we got to get through, we're going to move on to the next one, but we're going to do real quick. What did the Winter Soldier bring to the greater MCU?
The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I would say a lot. It introduced the character of Winter Soldier. It developed Steve Rogers a lot. It developed Black Widow a lot. It introduced Falcon. It developed Nick Fury a lot. It basically set the stage for the Avengers to be a self-contained group instead of a facet of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
It
in that same vein, it created Steve Rogers' ideals when it comes towards a governing body, and it comes towards his identity as an agent of an organization,
as an individual.
Versus an individual.
I think it nicely had nothing to do with Infinity Stones, because that's not really Steve Rogers' forte in general. That's not really what his stories are about.
He's the soldier. He says he's got his old fashioned ideals. Point me in the direction of the bad guy, and I'll take care of it. S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s becomes much less of a player. For a little while until Age of Ultron, when
it's still not a player. Then essentially,
they pretty much it's just them sending they get one of their helicarriers back, and they help
round up enough people to.
So S.H.I.E.L.D.
Essentially, they still exist, but they're a super deep cover organization, and they don't have the authority or power that they once did.
Yeah, they definitely crumble from the inside quite a bit. It's a lot happening there.
Okay,
and then moving on to Guardians
of the Galaxy.
Oh, my personal favorite.
Definitely one of my favorites.
With Winter Soldier definitely is a close second, or tied with some others.
I've given up on really making a proper list, but this is definitely up there in terms of my favorite.
Yeah.
So, it was the first film to introduce this number of sort of lead characters, to really do an ensemble. The Avengers did an ensemble with previously introduced characters, whereas...
This movie, I have a lot to say about it. This movie could have easily made... it was such a make-or-break film. If it had been mishandled in any way, shape, or form, like you said, they created an ensemble cast. They introduced 5 entirely new characters, each with distinct personalities, with distinct goals, and interests and abilities. They did it in such an efficient manner, such a fun manner. They also, at the same time, not only are they introducing these this whole group of unique characters, they're introducing them in the outer space setting. This was
they introduced an entire world to go along with the characters,
an entire universe, a galaxy, perhaps. This I've already described in a previous podcast how this movie was pitched to me, and I didn't think it was. I thought it was going to be terrible. From what people told me, I'm like, this sounds really stupid. We'd already had some exposure to the extraterrestrial, kind of more out there universe through Thor, but we had already kind of accepted that, and I think that had a lot to do with helping accept this. It could have with this. I
think this universe would have been accepted if this was a standalone movie.
If
the rest of the world wasn't even part of it.
Definitely.
The characters were fun. You really connected with them all, and that's always the most important part of any movie. Really, is a connection to the characters, no matter what they are, no matter who they are, no matter what their story is that if you can connect, if you can relate, then that's what's going to draw you in and keep you.
Yeah.
If you have an ensemble cast, it's especially hard, because that means that inevitably someone is going to be the least favorite.
Yeah.
And so your job is to make sure that the least favorite is still relatable in some way. So if you introduce 5 characters and have every person, not every person, but most people relate to all 5 of those, that's a hell of a task.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of an achievement as well. I think they did a really, really great job.
Yeah. This if this movie flopped, I mean, we probably wouldn't have seen characters like Doctor Strange or Ant-Man for at least for a while.
Well, yeah. So basically, they must have had machinations of characters they wanted to introduce, but this was definitely kind of a litmus test for what people were willing to accept.
For real,
there's no coincidence that they did a large scale release of the Phase 3 movie slate a few months after this movie came out and was very successful.
The movie was weird. The movie was different. They got a sterling cast to play all of the different characters.
Yeah, and unusual, unexpected unexpected cast as well.
Yeah, very much so. And they clicked well. You could feel the camaraderie through the movie. Particularly so that the thing, I think the movie really hinged on Rocket Raccoon.
I would say so, yes.
Because it was because that was I could sort of accept the Vin Diesel tree man somewhat, because that was okay, that's different in Alien, but having a hyper intelligent raccoon that's got an affinity for violence, guns and
a mean streak
and body parts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my personal favorite thing that he's obsessed with getting people's mechanical body parts.
And you know why? It makes perfect sense, because he's been sort of physically altered himself.
That his character is so unique and interesting and critical to the cast. He is their mechanic. He is their he's the resident genius of the group. Mm-hmm. He's literally amazing at everything he does. You rarely see him slip up. He's a smartass. He's hilarious. This movie, above all else, if people were following the MCU for the characters themselves, this would, like you said, this was the litmus test to see. This movie established that if Marvel puts the Marvel logo on anything, people are going to go see it. It didn't have to do with Captain America. It didn't have to do with the Avengers anymore. These guys were a complete unknown factor. They came out of nowhere. They weren't even the original Guardians. They were just the most recent iteration of them. So
the more popular iteration of the Guardians, for sure. This iteration was more popular even in comics pre the release of the movie compared to the originals, but not well known for the most part. And they it took something that was way out of left field. I didn't know, even though I was a fan of the Marvel Universe, pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe, I wasn't what you'd call a true expert, although I was an enthusiast.
Yeah.
I know a lot more now than I did then. But I'd never heard of these characters before.
No.
And I was definitely willing to give the movie a chance based on the preview alone.
The preview was so
the marketing for this movie was quite well done.
Spot on. It definitely generated a lot of interest. The soundtrack helped.
It did
immensely.
You know what they really did a great job of doing? Sort of capturing a character trapped in childhood. And they kind of gave him an excuse, he was kidnapped from Earth as a child, and he never really got a healthy upbringing, and man, the as silly as the movie was, I always forget that the intro scene is not Star-Lord dancing to Hooked on a Feeling.
No.
It's him watching his mom die of cancer, which is just
to the tune of "I'm Not in Love" by 10cc.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, and it's so immense, immediately immensely depressing, and that's like Disney's motif is they get created, people say that their characters always have dead parents and stuff like that, and it is an effective way to get you to sympathize with somebody.
Yes, that's one of the things. Star-Lord, he's kind of a dick. He's really not the nicest guy in the scheme of things. Like, yes, he's got a good heart, but he's kind of a prick. But you really forgive him for that because of what he's been through.
Because and I think people relate to that he uses his kind of devil may care attitude. He uses his dickishness. He uses his humor
as a
defense mechanism. That's him.
And holy hell, Michael Rooker as Yondu, so good. I mean, yeah, I think that.
Love it.
Jumping ahead a little bit, Guardians 2 was not my favorite of all of the movies, but Michael Rooker is even better in that one than he is in the first one, and he's great in the first one.
I wept when he died. Like, I was just he's just such a great character, a great addition to the and then one of the best themes they had in that one was fatherhood and friendship and people pushing people away from each other.
Well, it's family is what it is. The whole movie's about family. Both of them are.
I get so choked up when he says, like, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy, and I'm just like, oh man, Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh my god, possibly the best brief little back and forth. Or best, whatever. My favorite is you look like Mary Poppins. Was he cool?
He's the coolest.
The coolest. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh my god,
so good.
That's
so
not
good.
We'll save that. We're gonna do Phase 3, and we're gonna talk about this again because it means too much to us. Let's bring it back to the first movie.
Okay. Still, Yondu, great character in the first one.
Amazing character. He was an archer. Like that was his thing. Like in the I looked into his character because Yondu was an original Guardian.
Yes.
And he had like an archer. He also had sort of an archer motif.
Yeah, he was Hawkeye from space.
Yeah, he was Hawkeye from space, and then so they kind of reeled that back in, but they gave him his like dope flying arrow.
Yeah, and Guardians is so full of fan service in terms of Easter eggs and stuff, and they just were like,
yeah.
Someone tossed him a fastball. They were like, we're not going to make this easy for you, and they just knocked it out of the park.
Oh, hell yeah. This is another one, guys. Let us know. I could talk about this one for hours. I
think that what we should do, I don't see this podcast dying anytime soon, so I think over the course of our existence, we will take some time to pick out our favorite movies of all time. Inevitably, some of those are going to be MCU movies, and we'll do full episodes on them. But yeah, please let us know if you would like us to go farther into this movie. But that being said, let's try and hit the plot real quick and kind of do a summary of what it brings to the MCU.
Yes.
So. It introduced the Kree.
Yes.
This is the first iteration of the Kree.
Really important players. Although I will say one of the weaker points of the movie was Ronan the Accuser.
No doubt.
Ronan the Accuser it wasn't as trodden over as much. It wasn't as they didn't mention it as much that the Kree are like all religious fanatics.
They're not all religious fanatics, but.
Or the Kree...
they have a very intense culture. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Well, at least Ronan and his bunch were religious fanatics, and he saw himself as he was angry about the. And this was also it's mentioned, but it's really not delved into. He rejected a peace treaty. He sees himself as a holy emissary that needs to cleanse Xandarian culture.
Let's do a quick touch on the original comic. So Ronan the Accuser, originally what he would do is he would travel from planet to planet, and he would be the judge of whether they deserved to continue existing or not.
Oh.
Whether they were worthy, and that's what makes him the Accuser. So when he would come to Earth at various points or other planets, he would decide, shall you live, shall you die? So that's kind of what he does, and I think that's part of the ethos of the Kree Empire. And eventually, so the Kree and the Skrulls have had a centuries-long war going on.
Yeah.
And the Kree and the Xandarians have had a long war going on because the Xandarians are essentially peace-loving or peace-desiring at least. And the Kree sort of came to terms with the fact that they were not going to defeat the Xandarian Empire. And Ronan refused to submit to that.
And he really wanted to carry on his role of accusing those he deemed unworthy. But anyway, getting back to the movie.
Is this recording right now? I'm really not sure what just happened, but but my computer had a little audio overload.
Oh, no, stop lying. We huffed lots of helium, and we just...
I'm not sure what's going on with it. Anyway...
his mom called, and we huffed helium, and then we started talking to you guys, and that's what happened.
But yeah, so I want to leave that in because it's hilarious. So enjoy my little brief, high-pitched chipmunk voice. I don't know how it happened or why it happened, but it's there. But
I need you to tell me more about Ronan now, because I'm inquiring minds need to know.
Okay, so in the movie... Ronan is basically the same character, but they just didn't really delve that well into the psyche. He was a little bit cheesy. They did this whole reveal where he comes out of like the black goo, and he's outer space mustache twirling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm a bad guy. I wear this tight black outfit.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna smash a dude's head with a hammer.
Yeah, I'm fierce and you're unworthy. And
yeah.
So it just didn't work out that well.
Well, his whole persona in this movie, he was just one of. Definitely he had his rebellious streak at the end of the movie, but he was one of Thanos' lackeys.
Yeah, pretty much, and he did. He said "fuck you, Thanos" at the end, but it came back to bite him in the butt.
Yeah, he says this. I want that tasty power stone. I'm gonna nibble on it, and doesn't that feel good? I'm gonna destroy a planet.
Yep, and then he lost the dance off.
He did. He lost the dance off. Dude should have just danced. I mean,
so let's
loosened up.
Let's succinctly finish this story.
We are Groot.
We are Groot. Amazing.
Yes.
Finale to this movie. Amazing.
One of my personal favorite finale.
Yeah.
It's the only way it could have ended. And I mean, like, everything from the dance off, because that's so... Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things get brighter. Listen to these words.
Yes, so
someday,
great. Yes.
Yeah.
And just amazing. Even the little finger wag. Listen to these words. So good.
Dude, and dem hips don't lie. Goddamn. Chris Pratt, please sit on my face. Anyway.
Oh my
but like everything from the dance off to what are you doing?
Yeah,
stretch me, you giant turd blossom.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
What a great insult too. That must have been ad-libbed.
Turd blossom.
Nobody would ever write that.
Nobody would think that. Yeah. And just that, and then all of them like holding hands to share the power of the Power Stone. Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so good.
Oh god,
James Gunn, thank you.
Good Lord.
You kind of missed the mark on Guardians 2 in a lot of ways. You did good in some ways. You missed in a lot of ways, but Guardians won, man.
Guardians.
You're the man for that. You are the man.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did it bring to the greater MCU? It brought us a whole bunch of characters we absolutely love.
Yes.
It brought us a universe of culture. It brought us multiple empires. It brought us nowhere. It brought us the Collector more deeply. It brought us the Power Stone.
It brought us the Kree, the Xandarians, the Nova Corps. Just the entire universe. The relations to Thanos, because we meet two of his daughters.
Yep.
We get a fourth Infinity Stone. And we get a dance off.
And we get the history of the Infinity Stones.
We do, yeah. That's the first time. So that's like the first time that they were like really drilled in my consciousness. Because I remember them mentioning
6 singularities.
They're so exquisite.
Yes. So much great about this movie. What a great cast.
Benicio. Love that.
Michael Rooker, Benicio del Toro, Chris Pratt. Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel. Who would have thought Dave Bautista had such comedic timing?
Dude, he's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana.
He's in a new movie now. Dave.
Is he?
Davey. He's in a movie about a hotel.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Another day, another time.
Yep. And now,
He brought us a great soundtrack.
Oh my god! I own the soundtrack. I think lots of people do, and great songs.
And what a great title for the soundtrack! Awesome Mix Volume 1. Yeah. I mean, just the best from start to finish.
He opens Awesome Mix Volume 2, and and his mom calls him her little Star-Lord. Dude, I lost my shit.
So good.
The hits kept coming even the movie was over, and we got Baby Dancing Groot.
Yeah, it just top-notch stuff. Just top-notch stuff.
Hell yeah. All right, Age of Ultron. Let's keep this podcast moving.
Yeah, thank you. So, Age of Ultron, when I rewatch it, I still find that I like it. There are some things that momentarily will take me out of the movie here and there. Yeah. And I think let's start with the negative things, and then we'll swing into the positive things.
Yeah.
Negative things?
Bad
accents from the Maximoff twins.
Oh,
bad...
I almost said Latvarian.
Yeah. Bad Sokovian accents.
Where is Dr. Doom in Latveria? They make mention of Latveria a couple times. I can't remember which movie they mentioned Latveria, but...
If you can show me that, I will be surprising to me.
Okay.
I don't recall that from any of the movies.
Well.
But, yeah, so bad accents.
I thought... I didn't necessarily... Ultron himself, James Spader, you are a master. You brought that character to life. You are incredible in everything you do. Your voice is like silk. I could fall asleep to that shit anytime. And you made him so cool and menacing, and just gave such a malevolent intelligence to him, that I absolutely adored. His creation was always... I feel like introducing the concept of the Ultron, like, I get that Tony wanted to create a suit of armor around the world, but it just felt very abrupt, like his creation.
Well, I think that what they were trying to imply is that there was outside interference, which was Thanos. I think Thanos was at least partially responsible for the creation of the Dark Ultron character.
Okay.
Because remember, it's very clear that Tony Stark and Bruce Banner are not really close to achieving that artificial intelligence to that degree.
Right.
And he just kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think what they were trying to do was imply that Thanos was responsible for that. But I'll be honest, I did not get that until I had rewatched the movie a few times. I did not catch, like, I didn't understand that that's what they wanted.
I didn't necessarily. So was it their plan all along for Tony to get the Mind Stone so he could create... Did Thanos... So Thanos wanted the creation of Ultron, so did he see at that point the Avengers as a threat, and he wanted to
Well, he must have seen them as a threat, because they defeated Loki.
Right.
They defeated Loki, even though at least at some point Loki had 2 Infinity Stones in his possession and an army of Chitauri. Defeated them.
That's very interesting to me, because like Thanos, he seems like such a character that his mentality, it would seem like he would view the Avengers the same as he'd view any other individual on Earth, because he'd probably see them as like a bunch of bugs.
Well, this is a good opportunity, since this is a road to Infinity War, to talk about Thanos a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's get down to like some details that might not have been thought about or discussed for a lot of people up till this point. Prior to this moment, there are 6 Infinity Stones, and Thanos has 1 of them. Right. And he's only ever had 1 of them. So you would assume that it's actually the one that he has the most understanding of.
The Mind Stone.
Exactly.
Right, and that was his. What did Loki do to earn that kind of trust?
Well, he apparently knew where the Tesseract was, and he knew how to go get it. I mean, I think that's one of those things that it's like we overlooked that, like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Loki was not. You know, he might not have been known as the god of mischief at the time. He was a son of Asgard who...
Asgard. Dude.
So he was a son of Asgard who had only recently rebelled.
Yeah.
And he wasn't seen as the god of mischief at that point. And he wasn't as well known throughout the universe. So you could understand why he might be able to, you know, trick a few people here and there. Now he's very well known as being a backstabber.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Thanos had only one Infinity Stone. He didn't know how to find the Reality Stone because no one did except for Odin. He didn't know where the Tesseract was because that had been lost on Earth.
Right.
He didn't know where the Power Stone was because that had been lost on the planet where Star-Lord finds it.
Uh-huh.
He didn't know where to find the Soul Stone either. So even though it was his goal to wipe out half of all existence, it probably is only somewhat recent that he's discovered enough locations of Infinity Stones to actually make it a mission.
Right.
So in the Avengers, he only has one, and he gives it to Loki, not telling him what it is, saying, if you can... He kind of sees Loki as small-minded, so he's like, if you can get the Tesseract, keep Earth. It's all yours.
Yeah.
But just give me the Tesseract and then the scepter back.
Yeah,
when
and
you
then
get
Earth is now your kingdom.
So it kind of makes sense that would be the one that he was the most familiar with, aka the one that he could manipulate into creating Ultron.
Right.
So he's like, well, hell, even if I consider Loki small-minded, the fact that he was defeated with 2 Infinity Stones to end my Chitauri army, then these guys must be a threat.
Right.
So he's kind of keeping up to date on what's going on with them. And he sees that Tony Stark has this Infinity Stone and he's trying to create an artificial intelligence.
Right.
And he's thinking to himself, well, if I can influence this artificial intelligence, perhaps I can get that to defeat them, and then I can just go in the aftermath and collect what I want.
That's so interesting.
Right.
I had no idea that he was manipulating them from that standpoint.
Well, it's not clear at all, and I think that's one of the downfalls of Ultron. If that was a real reveal, I think the movie would probably be in the top 5 of people's movies, but it's not clear, and this is stuff that I've put together piecemeal over time.
Right. Well, because at that point, it was very confusing to me at least that was a Mind Stone in Loki's scepter, because I honestly thought that was one of Loki's abilities, that he was able to manipulate people like that. I didn't realize that was an outside source of power. That was
not clear in Avengers or Age of Ultron until the very end, or close to the end, when Ultron breaks it and gets the stone out.
Right, and because I can't speak to my knowledge of Loki. I didn't know much about Thor before I started the MCU, so I couldn't speak to my knowledge of what Loki's true range of abilities was from just one Thor movie. So then him to appear in Avengers and start touching people to control their minds with his little scepter, I was like, oh, okay, well that's just one of his powers. And he harnesses it through the staff. I didn't realize that there was an outside source of power working there. I didn't. It seemed very. It was very sudden. They were like, oh, by the way, Bruce and I have been working on this trying to create true artificial intelligence, and I thought. Ultron's creation was really cool, but I thought it was kind of a little bit hokey because they had to have the representation of him stabbing into Jarvis's
Yeah, there was a couple of things that were just like swing miss, but I think one of the things is that I only picked this up after rewatching it, so I didn't understand it the first time through, or probably even the second time through. But so at the end of the movie, the post-credits sequence is Thanos grabbing the gauntlet and saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself." I think most people assumed that was about Loki. Loki couldn't accomplish it, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
But what it really means is he tried to get Ultron to take care of this problem. Ultron didn't work out, and that's why he's saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself." But because of the lack of clarity, most people just assumed that he was referring to the fact that Loki failed.
Huh. Yeah, that would, like several years after the Avengers, that would...
That's what I thought the first time.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, the movie... I don't dislike the movie at all.
I don't dislike it either.
I think it's great. I just, again, the MCU is just so good in comparing it to the rest of them.
Yeah, it is. It introduced Ulysses Claw, who was really fun.
Yeah.
Really, kind of like an out there character, but...
Yeah.
And really fun.
Very, very, very interesting and random cameo.
I find myself enjoying Quicksilver more the more I see it. I think that it had come out recently after Days of Future Past, and Days of Future Past had a really fun Quicksilver, so it was kind of hard to live up to that, but I find myself liking him more upon rewatching.
I remember watching it the first time through and then thinking his character was a little bit flat, but I watched it again, I was like, no, he's funny, he's cool, he has a lot to say. His action scenes are
just bad accents.
Yeah, bad accents. It's I was very surprised when they killed him off. I didn't really see that coming. He
didn't see that coming.
Shush your face. And it was really cool to see, because at that point Scarlet Witch's powers were still kind of blossoming, and you don't really see. She does some minor telekinetic things, she stops the train, which is really cool, but you only see her manipulating minor things. Maybe she'll rip a single dude apart, but then he dies and she falls to her knees and she vaporizes all those bitches.
Upon rewatch second, third time, the movie is really quite good.
Yeah.
I think that there were a few things. I think the key thing about Age of Ultron is that there's so much going on.
There is a lot.
That it's really hard to keep up with it unless you've seen all the movies a couple of times.
There's a lot to unpack. There really is a lot to unpack when you're talking about that movie. Another thing that I know some people didn't. I know some people were not crazy about the intro fight sequence.
I was not crazy about it.
I enjoyed it. I think it was important for multiple reasons, because we're also expected to believe that the Avengers have been operating as a unit. They've been going on missions together. They're trying to build a narrative that these guys are hanging out, that they're good friends, that this mission is just a well trodden path. This is something that they're this is normal. This is.
That's the one thing about the MCU, is that they're so good about showing that stuff instead of that's we talk about show don't tell a lot.
Yeah.
Well, to me that felt like a tell, not a show. You know what I mean? It's like.
I mean, it served the purpose for them retrieving the staff.
It served the purpose for them retrieving the staff,
and then
but Baron von Strucker,
that's
his whole role in the movie. He's there for a second, and he's. I mean,
he got his own after credit sequence. I felt like he was gonna play a bigger part.
Yeah, and if you want me to believe that the Avengers have been working together for multiple missions leading up to this, use one of the 4 movies that came out between Avengers and this to show me that a little bit.
You do get it a little bit through context clues, through the way they interact with each other. You can tell that they're more used to working with each other. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into their teamwork because at this point they have the mental conditioning in the Hulk, the sun's getting real low stuff. They figured that stuff out.
It's weird because aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got 3 movies focused on these characters. You get Iron Man 3, not a single other character is in that movie except for Bruce Banner for literally about 10 seconds.
I know.
Then you get Thor: The Dark World. Not a single other character is in that movie.
Yeah, Chris Evans, but that's only through a Loki.
Yeah, it's not really him.
It's a Loki impression.
Yeah, it's a humor bit, and it's not the real character. And you get Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where you can see how Black Widow and Captain America work together really well.
Yeah,
but that's not even really played upon. It's very, very lightly played upon in Age of Ultron. So if you want me to believe that these characters have been working together and are such good friends, then why, when Tony Stark was going through crazy shit, didn't he call his friends? Why, when Thor was going through some crazy shit, didn't he call his friends? Yeah. Why, when Captain America was going through some crazy shit, didn't he call his friends?
And I think that is one of the drawbacks. It's one of the limitations you have to doing the cinematic universe. Is so much money goes into that shit, and you have to.
Well, I get it, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't have regrets about the way that they showed each one of those characters having individual. Stories, but then don't just throw them all together and be like, oh yeah, they've been best friends for a while. Yeah, show me them becoming.
You could do little things you could see.
Show me them getting back together and not having worked together since Avengers. Show me that.
You have have something have one of them talking to somebody, and in the background somebody's like, is that you? And you're in the background there's a store shot. There's a store and there's televisions in the storefront. And they're showing a mission that he was recently on with the Avengers, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's me." I know Thor. I've got his phone number or something like that. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that.
Shorten the flashy action sequence in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Show me them being called together.
I want a montage.
I don't need them. Just show me one of the Avengers calling the other Avengers together. Saying, this literally can take a couple minutes. I have intelligence that there is, it's good to see all again. I have intelligence that Loki's scepter is being held in this Hydra base.
Avengers assemble.
Yeah, make it Steve Rogers, who's been hunting down Hydra since S.H.I.E.L.D. was overrun. You know what I mean? Show me that.
Or have Steve Rogers on a mission by himself, and then he gets into a tight spot.
Yes,
and then
all in the Avengers.
And then he's about to get his face beaten in, and then at the last second you hear, beep, and then you see Iron Man flying in from nowhere, and he's just hey, what's up, Steve? He's like, what's up, metalhead or whatever.
Yeah, and instead of making the celebration party, it's good to be together even though we've been together, it's so good to see you all again. You know what I mean?
I did love the party scene though.
Well, yeah,
the party scene was great.
They could have done the exact same party scene but made it a reunion instead of we are all best friends.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I just felt like that would have served the story better.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot happened in that one though. In that little party scene. First of all, Stanley cameo with Excelsior, him getting drunk on the weird Asgardian moonshine or whatever, and everybody having the competition with the hammer. I thought that was one of the best scenes.
I love that scene. It's just you literally only have to alter a couple of lines of dialogue in the entire scene.
I know.
To make it fit better.
Feel like it's a more lived-in sort of existence.
Exactly. I mean, okay, so we know from Iron Man 3 that Bruce Banner's been hanging out with Tony Stark. right? So that's fine. They can have been friends. It makes sense. You've shown me that.
They're both scientists. They're both smarty pantses.
And they get along in their own way. You know, like you get it. They were friends in Avengers. They're friends in Iron Man 3. You've already shown me that. So when they're talking about doing Ultron, I get it. They already work together. Tony Stark's the power. Tony Stark's the top. Bruce Banner's the bottom. It's you already know that.
Oh man, I have already know several fan fictions that already shows that in immense detail.
But show me a reunion. Show me how that happened. Because if S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't there to organize these missions, how did it happen? It's like you're just how did Thor come back to Earth to hunt down Hydra?
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, Thor still needs a special permission to use the Bifrost, and it's been shown that like he's in the time between the Dark World and Ragnarok, he's been having like these horrific visions of like
and Loki's actually in power.
Yeah,
since between Dark World and that, Loki's pretending to be Odin on the throne. So it's just
they put him in a fucking old care home. In Ragnarok. Anyway, that's Phase 3. So this is the Phase 2 Boogaloo. I'm sorry that we keep jumping ahead.
Just stick with the dance moves, man. We're in the Boogaloo right now.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Definitely things are gonna get easier as we keep doing this podcast, or harder, longer and harder. The movie was great. I can't stress enough how good James Spader was at portraying Ultron. He is so freaking talented, and just capturing Ultron's menace and sort of weird intelligence. I
thought that there was a lot well done in the movie, and it took me a while to figure out why basically everything that happened in the second half, it's second 4/5 of the movie. No, I mean honestly, in the last 4/5 of the movie, really good movie.
Yeah.
But that opening scene, it took me out of it. It's like I was a little bit confused. Why are the Avengers together? How do they know where to be?
It's just another mission, man.
Yeah, and so, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., ironically, because this is the time when they still mesh together pretty well, it's almost like they were relying on you watching the first 2 seasons of that show to know why the Avengers were where they were. Because if you watch them in sequence...
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you watch them in sequence, it kind of explains why the Avengers were there.
So the agents figure out the location of the scepter, and they try to thwarting Baron von whatever.
Yeah, and they do, and it works, but... And I think maybe, honestly, this had one of the things to do with why the movies don't necessarily reflect the shows, is that they don't want people to have had to see that to understand, because you already have to see all the movies to know what's going on. But if you have to see the shows,
Did you see one of the reviews of Infinity War? There was this one dude.
I saw one of them. But I don't know.
There was a newspaper. There's a New York newspaper that reviewed Infinity War, and the person was like, the movie was immensely confusing. Characters just seemed to appear out of nowhere without explanation, and no explanation of their abilities. And I'm like, bro, maybe you shouldn't show up to the 19th movie in a franchise without watching some of the previous ones.
Yeah. But I mean, as much as a completist as I am, I don't think that having that explained mediocrely in a TV show was enough. I found that on rewatch, I really liked the movie.
Yeah.
And I do wish that the opening 20 minutes were different. If the opening 20 minutes had been handled in a different way, then it might very well be one of my favorites.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, from that point on, the introduction of Ultron, I have no strings on me.
Yeah,
it's
really done well.
Really, it was really cool.
Ultron's good. Claw's good.
Claw's good.
And upon rewatch, the Maximoff twins are good, except for their accents.
Yes.
The Avengers are all good. They're all handled really well.
They even give Hulk his moment. Like, I know everybody was every fanboy had wet their shorts over the fact that the Hulkbuster was going to be in it, and I was equally excited to see that. I think that scene was so much more important for so many reasons, because Hulk had finally sort of gained a semblance of control over himself, and that probably shattered any confidence that he had gained. And he's just such a... He's a tortured character to begin with. He's again as they say in the movie, you're the only person that doesn't want to fight because he knows he's going to win every fight, and he's scared of hurting people. He's scared of losing control like that. He doesn't like what's living inside him. Mm-hmm. He wants to change his status quo, and then he gets his mind diddled with, and he goes on a rampage, and. and the whole, I mean, that fight scene was awesome.
It was pretty good, yeah. It was good, and
really...
it's one of those things that shows you how much destruction powered people can cause if they're not careful, if they're not in check. All right, so let's do a summation of this and jump into Ant-Man, because this is running. We knew it was going to be long. Yeah. We're getting to that length where we don't want it to go too much longer.
Yeah,
so
we're just trying to keep it. We're trying to keep it quick and tasty and interesting for you beautiful sons of bitches out there.
Because we know you all have very short attention spans.
Yeah, God, fucking millennials. 2 seconds, man. We gotta. It was like
you're all Snapchatting away out there.
Yeah, I got a little taste of Max's insight into millennial culture, and he is not a fan of Snapchat. He very much looks down upon me when I use my Snapchat.
Well, let me just make it clear. It's not Snapchat as like a fundamental idea that I have a problem with. It's the amount of time invested into it any given day.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to be better about that stuff. I'm trying to limit my, because I had to do social network spring cleaning recently. I haven't used because at one point I was on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and some other shit, and I
good God, man.
Kick, Tinder, all that stuff. Did all the things for the while, and I recently was like, I'm not a person anymore. I'm not enjoying the world that's in front of my face. I need to stop. And so I've gotten rid of everything. So really, the only way to reach me right now, if you, I've all but scorned my my Facebook. Like I use it so little now. Only to get into contact with people whose phone numbers I absolutely don't have.
All right. So anyway.
So basically, I'm a text message and Instagram is.
So yeah, and email us at maxwelldean@maxdean.org.
And then if you want to.
Every time I say that, I realize how stupid it sounds.
You sound so full of yourself.
I know. I'm sorry. It's not really what I intended, but it is what it is.
Fellas, it's me, Max Dean. From maxdean.org. Okay, I'm Max Dean. All right, maxdean.org. All right.
And for clarity's sake, it's MaxWellDean.org. No.
.org. .org. Just kidding.
maxwelldean@maxdean.org. Because, keep it complicated.
Yeah, keep it light, keep it fun, keep it gay. Have you ever seen The Producers?
That's the movie! No, it isn't. I got too excited just now.
Look at the audio spike from that.
I was trying to remember the title of a movie earlier, and I couldn't remember it to tell Tracey, and I was explaining the plot to him, and he just said a movie title, which was not the one that I was thinking of, but for a moment, I thought it was.
Producers is a fantastic movie with starring Matthew Broderick and
I know.
And Nathan, who's the other guy? Shorter dude. Anyway, it's really funny. If you like them musicals. One last plug before we jump into Ant-Man. Again, I'm going to be posting lots of related art and unrelated art stuff relating to the comic book project that we're working on. Stuff relating to tattoo designs that I'm working on. Feel free to commission me. I am working for some rates, which I will be posting on my Instagram, and just for funsies, superhero stuff, and you can send me offers for those as well.
Also, if you transfer us enough money, Tracey will tattoo whatever you want onto his body.
Yeah. On my left butt cheek, I have that. You guys have not seen my face yet. I am actually, my whole body is a canvas of tattoos, but I've saved a 6 square inch spot on my left buttock for my adoring fans. Put what you want on there. Oh, do you want Rocky and Bullwinkle? Yes, you do. It could be there. Do you want Spider-Man having a threesome with Ant-Man and Wolverine? It could be there. Speaking of Ant-Man, we should talk about him now.
Okay, so Ant-Man. Not my favorite of all the MCU movies.
I actually don't have any tattoos. That was a lie. I'm sorry. I felt guilt in
you felt obligated to be honest.
I felt guilt in my very core for lying to our amazing listeners.
But he will tattoo himself.
You could be viewers. I would. I don't know. Who knows? I might get my first. You guys could influence my first tattoo experience. I thought Ant-Man was very fun. It had a lot of character, a lot of spunk.
I love Paul Rudd as a choice. I love Michael Douglas as Hank Pym.
Hank Pym. Yeah.
I almost called him Ant Pym.
Yeah. Michael Pena is his friend.
I love Michael Pena in the movie.
It was. I think it was a really smart choice picking a person with a comic background to play the Ant-Man, because he's not necessarily a person that has. He's not necessarily a hero that has like a typical, stereotypical superpower.
Yes.
It's not. It definitely, the movie spent a good amount of time effectively explaining the abilities and the uses of such abilities to shrink, even pitting him against an Avenger to show what an advantage he would be in a situation like that. Because that fighting style has so much potential.
I think one of the great things that they did also is to make the hero a character who didn't invent the technology, because to have invented the technology, you must be the kind of person who would see the potential.
Yeah.
And it kind of,
they gave us somebody with like fresh eyes, so that they could take the viewers for a ride as well.
Yeah, take the viewers for a ride, and
it's like with Harry Potter. It's like get somebody that doesn't have any idea that the Wizarding World exists, so they can introduce it to you piecemeal.
And also, it makes him kind of innocent in that sense, because, as they show in the movie, that power can be used for a whole host of nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
From espionage to
murder.
Just
straight up assassinations.
Yeah, it basically,
especially
it is very powerful.
Yeah, especially with the Yellow Jacket outfit with like it's insanely powerful lasers. I mean, the lasers on the Yellow Jacket outfit cut through a dude's skull like butter.
Well, at least they show it doing that in the sales, the marketing.
No, even when he was in the helicopter. When they had the fight in the helicopter, he killed the pilot and the co-pilot.
That's right.
It went through their head like it wasn't even there.
But I think that giving us Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym was a really wise choice.
Yeah.
It gave us a character who we can get behind Hank Pym is a hard character to get behind. If you want to do him justice from the comics, he's not really a guy that you relate to very well.
I'll get behind Paul Rudd any day. you started, you immediately saw where I was going with that.
My eyes flicked towards Tracey and go on. I'll let you finish.
I'll allow this.
Yes, but I think Scott Lang was a great choice because he's not a classic hero, but he is more heroic than Hank Pym. Hank Pym notoriously is not the most heroic character in the Marvel universe.
No, he withheld his technology for forever, for relatively heroic reasons, but he
also has a very, very famous scene in the comic books, which you may or may not know about, where he beats his wife.
Oh.
So it's just one of those characters where people don't really relate to him very well.
Oh.
And so to make an Ant-Man movie about Hank Pym, and to really do that character, even in the early Ant-Man, even in the 1960s Ant-Man, way before that ever happens, he's a hyper intense character. And I feel like the Michael Douglas portrayal does that justice, but it's a good thing that they're not making him the main character.
Yeah. That's heavy, man.
Yeah, he backhands her and everything.
Oh, fuck, dude. Come on.
I mean, they're not making light of it in the comics. They're showing him. They're not making light of it.
They're not being hey, this is I'm gonna backhand you. All right, I'll see you in the den for dinner, honey.
It's a dark comic. It's not making light of it, but it's very well known.
I would have a really difficult time getting behind somebody after something like that.
Right, and so a lot of people, especially big-time comic book nerds, know about that, and I think that's one of the main reasons that they chose to do the second iteration of Ant-Man.
Good. I think it was a wise choice for a virgin audience. Regardless, he made the having a comedian play such a bizarre character. It made it relatable because he was also, as well as the audience, the entire time he was going, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is this? I can shrink, okay, but I maintain my density, or my density increases, so I punch harder. Oh, I can control ants too. Okay."
Yeah, and that's one of the things about the movie. I really liked it a lot. I thought the writing was good. The writing was definitely an important part. The acting was important as well to carry it off. The one thing, really, and honestly, this is the only thing about the movie that I didn't like, and I think this is going to be inevitable with a movie like this where these powers are in play, is that the physics are just so absurd.
We were talking about the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailers, and he shrinks the entire car with his little throwables. And I was like, how?
We'll see when that movie comes out. But
maybe.
the one of the big things for me is that if a rule of the physics of the Pym particle are that when you shrink, your density increases, thus you're stronger, then if you shrink a freaking tank to keychain size, then that tank weighs 12 tons hanging off your keychain. Like that.
Thud.
I need some consistency.
Well, yeah, it's because they showed that his density maintained the same when he fell and he cracked the porcelain.
I mean, in some ways, they held true to that. Those were the moments that I liked. And in some moments, they did not hold true to that.
I mean, for sure, it was an amazing comedic moment when the tank burst out of the side of the fucking building. That was
very
awesome.
Funny, but if you think about it for even 2 whole seconds, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, then, and also for and again, I'm completely suspending disbelief for this. The fight in his daughter's bedroom.
Very fun.
Oh my god.
But why would a plastic tank engine explode? Tell me that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no point to that unless the laser beams did. Yeah, well, it's like the laser beams would just like cut through them.
Yeah, it would not explode.
Yeah, it would not explode.
Like very, very funny. Yes.
That whole scene, I was roaring that entire scene like in the theater. I thought that was incredible. Also, Thomas the Tank Engine getting blown up to massive proportions and falling outside. It would not smash into the ground like that if it were maintaining density. It would like kind of float down there like it would kind of like be like an inflatable pool toy.
Yeah.
Almost.
So there's a lot of issues with the physics of that movie, and I'm going to do my best to suspend disbelief when the next one comes out. I really will try, because I really will try, because I like it.
And again, I'm pretty... I didn't think about this stuff until you started like mentioning it to me, and I'm like, yep, that makes sense.
I'm sorry I shattered.
No, it's
your
okay.
world.
I still really enjoy the movies for what they are, and I will continue to. I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to movies. I do get picky sometimes, but yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty easy to please. Still love that movie in terms of the cast and the and how well they click together and how well they bounce off each other. Spot on. They're hilarious. They're really fun. With Michael Douglas being like exasperated and and then who's the Wasp? What's her name?
In the movie, she's Hope Van Dyne.
Hope Van Dyne.
And the woman who plays her is Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly. Yeah, she's fantastic, and I cannot wait to see her
shine as the Wasp in the next one.
She better get like lots of screen time.
She will. They've made a point of that, I think. But the chemistry is great, the acting's great, the writing's great. It's all really good. A lot of the visuals are fantastic. The action's fun. Everything about the movie I really like, but the physics and I know this is maybe not true for everyone, but it does take me out of the moment a little bit here and there.
Yeah. I understand that. I did like... So the feminist in me got very upset as things went, showing that Hope Van Dyne was clearly the superior choice to don the outfit.
That was them trying to do the Hank Pym character justice.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know what I mean? Not injustice in the sense of making it close to the comics. I think that's what they wanted to do. I think they wanted people to be thinking, she's the better choice. She should be it. Yeah. I don't think that they were doing... I don't think that they were...
she blew him out of the water. She kicked the shit out of him. Like, she had already had, like, lots of experience. And then when he takes her out of the car and he's like, don't you see it's because I'm
disposable.
I'm disposable. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose you. And that made up for a lot of that. I feel like I'm still a little bit...
I basically, the misogyny in the movie was part of the plot. It wasn't just like... It wasn't the writers writing because that's what they think. It was part of the greater plot, and I think that's going to be part of the greater plot arc in Ant-Man of the Wasp.
Yeah, well, because
her coming into her
Hank
own.
Hank Pym is definitely a broken man.
Yeah, and he's also pretty old school.
Yeah, he definitely is pretty old school, and he's
But I think that that there were only two things in the entire movie that took me out of it, and all of the things that you're talking about were part of the story. The two things that took me out of it, one of which I mentioned like 5 times already, the physics. The other, Darren Cross was a terrible villain. Terrible villain.
He's a great actor.
Sorry about that, folks. I just had to go running out the door for a cat fight. A real cat fight. My cats seem to have gotten into a territorial dispute.
A little scuffle.
With some neighboring kitty cats.
Oh, we're just going to leave that part in. So
why not?
People can hear the yowling in the distance.
If you listen very closely, you can hear it.
Oh my! Well, if you listen, you can hear him slamming on the keyboard and bolting out the door like Usain Bolt, like. Oh my god! It was something to watch. I've never seen a man move so fast, and I was still sitting here like. We were talking about Corey Stoll as Darren Cross.
Yes.
And I think he's a really good actor. Definitely, the character was very underdeveloped. He did have some interesting character moments. He was just a greedy megalomaniac.
He was just an entitled prick. You can pretty much leave it at that.
Yeah. Flicking little sheep in the container.
You can make an entitled prick character that's interesting to watch and you really root against, or you can make an entitled prick character where you're like
Or he's like, he expects everything to be handed to him, and then when it's not, he's like, no, this is mine.
Yeah, he was very pouty. Just not intimidating for the most part. When he wore the suit, he was because of the suit, but it's not. He just not good.
Yeah,
just not great. Sorry, Corey. You probably could have done better if you're given better, like a lot of actors, but just not.
Yeah, well, MCU just doesn't focus as much on their villains for the most part. Like, the small
early anyway.
The small fry villains, for sure. Thanos is a very memorable villain.
But also, I think that they've taken the criticism and rolled with it and tried to do better. They've come out with some seriously better villains. I would say that Killmonger is very much one. Ultron was memorable. I think that
he's not a great villain, but he's memorable.
Yeah, I think that he's an interesting character. I don't think he's a great villain because he's a little bit also whiny to a degree.
Yeah.
But he has moments and moments, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Darren Cross, not one of those memorable villains.
Yeah, for the most part, could have not been in the movie, and it would have been fine.
So what did Ant-Man bring to the MCU?
Ant-Man introduced the Pym particle. It introduced Pym technologies.
Hank Pym, Scott Lang,
the
Pym family.
I think more importantly than anything else, it introduced the quantum realm.
It did. Which I don't know too terribly much about. I'm interested to see how it plays into future movies.
I don't think anyone knows too terribly much about it because you never really know how much.
Well, people are not supposed to know about it. It's supposed to be a complete unknown quantity.
Well,
quantum.
You can take some knowledge of the comics, but the question is because of the way that comics are, the way that you can do anything in the comics. And you tend to really pull back on that for the movies. No one knows what they're going to do in the movies because you don't know. They're going to do their best to keep it a little bit more grounded.
Yeah.
In the sense that.
Yeah.
They're not going to be infinite realities because they want to keep stakes. If there's infinite realities, then you start to lose stakes. And you can kind of see that in a show like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Where, if you have access to infinite
realities, you can go to one where the individuals died at the same time as you, like in Rick Potion number 9.
Yeah.
One of the most effed up episodes of television I've ever seen.
But I think that they want to avoid that in this. Because in Rick and Morty, it's very much part of it. Like they're playing on that, but it's also a cartoon. It's also episodic. It's totally different than what they're doing in the MCU. So they don't want to fall into that realm of nothing we do matters because you can always fix it.
Although I really would love to see a live action version of entering the Spider-Verse because I love the Spider-Verse storylines. I'm
sure they could find a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
If they really tried.
Yeah, I just want to see Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen really badly.
A long episode. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for and hopefully enjoying.
I definitely.
Chat.
I'm gonna give you a high five. That was solid. It was solid.
It was so good. We put our hands together and
it made a sound.
Yeah.
We kept our shit together for this one.
We did. I think this. We're gonna re-listen. And
we got some. We actually we had like some decent sleep for this one. We drank coffee and ate some proper meals today, and
we were functional human beings.
Self-care is important.
Yay us. So. I guess we'll just take this opportunity to thank you all for listening and to please send us some feedback and stuff because we're developing, we're growing as creators.
Shoot out that email once more.
Maxwelldean at maxdean.org. MAXWELLDEAN at MAXDEAN.org.
Oh man, that's a sexy thing that you just said. I'm touching myself already. All right, and then my Instagram is Viva la France, but it's all lowercase. Viva la France, and then the E in France is a 3.
And feel free to check out maxdean.org. It's got some concept artwork from the comics that we're working on together.
Yep.
All the concept art is via Tracey LaFrance. I'm definitely not the graphic artist of the pair, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So check it out. And
I'm improving. I'm going to send out my attempts to use digital mediums because for the most part I'm pretty traditional with pen and pencil sketch artwork, and now trying to move into something more interesting, as you can see. With our title, Yancey Street Speakeasy, with the 2 dudes clinking, with the superheroes clinking glasses. Anyway, you have a great night. Per usual, hug a friend, high five somebody, even if it's just yourself. Tell an animal that they mattered to you. Don't smoke school, stay in drugs, and eat your teeth.